Creation is to think from the place where the problem does not exist. The solution is already here. I say all the time, thank you, God, for showing me that this problem is already solved. What does that do? Right then and there, when I say that to myself, I let go of the problem immediately. I'm like, there's nothing to be solved. You got this. Move on. So to think from a new idea, from a new assumption, is completely different. And many of you are going to be like, okay, that's great. I love this. Like, yeah, this makes sense. Let's do it. But then nothing changes. Why? Because you aren't embodying the things that are required of you to do when you're thinking from a $100 million idea versus a $1 million idea. I don't make financial decisions based on how much money I have. I make financial decisions based on how much money I want. You guys are getting a beautiful foray into my life and all the beautiful people that I have around me. And this is the power of this work in magnetism, right? So when I start operating from a certain frequency of vibration, I start bringing people towards me that operate from that high level. Like if we look at my team, my manifestation mentors on my team, they are the most beautiful, loving, caring souls that ever lived, that want to make an impact. And they're willing to get really, really uncomfortable to help you. And it's not by coincidence, right? It's not by accident. It's by design. And even when I think about my business and the way that I want my business to run, it is exactly how I wrote it down. Everything that I wrote down is the experience that I now live. In all parts of my life, even in my personal life now, I am experiencing exactly what I wrote down and what I wanted. I now have it. And there's going to be moments in your life where it's going to maybe look like that's not the case, or it's going to look like it's not coming together. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for the appearance of things. Stay true to the idea. So one thing I want to quickly touch upon is the power of imagination. My number one business tool is my imagination. The power of imagination, right? So imagination is so powerful, so incredible. It is actually your direct connection to source. The truth is how your imagination sees it. The truth is not the observed world. The truth is what's in the imagination. So the example of flying in the airplane, right? So before we flew in airplanes, the majority of the world probably would have thought that was crazy. Probably would have thought that was impossible. Probably would have thought that was a ludicrous idea, unrealistic. No, we can't do that. Because everybody's thinking from the idea of, no, we can't fly. Nobody's flying. Humans can't fly. We don't have wings. We can't fly. So we think from that idea, from that observed world. But the Wright brothers thought from an idea in the imagination. And the idea in the imagination was them flying in an airplane with wings, giving humans their wings. And so from that idea, if we look at that as truth, the Wright brothers knew, because we can visualize it, we know that it will be our truth and it will be our experience. So they manifested how to fly in the airplane. The path to fly in the airplane has always existed. The way has always been here. They just figured it out. They became aware of it. So they chose not to fall for the appearance of things, and they chose to believe an idea that they saw in their imagination, and they decided to become aware of that idea and bring it into the physical form, manifestation. So that's what I mean by your imagination is your number one business tool. Because if you want your business to be an experience that you're not currently having, you have to live from the idea in the mind instead of living from the 3D observed world. So if your business right now is making this much money, your bank account is at this much, you have this much profit, you're generating this much revenue, you're having this much annual growth, and you described to me your business right now, that is what it currently is in the observed 3D world. That's not the truth. That's just what you're observing right now, which is the past, because the past version of you created that idea. So now that's your current manifestation. You manifested that business. That's the observation. So then I say to you, okay, so what's the next iteration? What would you love? And so we map out, well, I would like 2x in my revenue growth. I would like to hire another staff member that's absolutely incredible, that grows the business by tenfold. I would love to see my profitability go up. I would love to see my sales, double. Maybe you have investments. You want to see your investments grow and rise, all that kind of stuff. So now we're creating a new idea in the imagination. And so how do we bring the new idea into the physical world instead of the old idea? We stop focusing on the old idea. We stop giving it our focused attention. So if you call your team in for a meeting and you say, okay, team, I want a 2x our revenue growth. Let's go look at all the problems in our business right now and all the reasons why it's not happening. Let's go fix all the gaps. What are we doing? We're putting our focused attention upon all the areas in our businesses that are not working. We're identifying the problems. We're thinking from the idea of failure. We're thinking from the limitation. So instead, I get my team together and I say, okay, team, I want to think from $100 million idea. When we're generating $100 million in revenue, what do we have that's working well? What is the feeling that we're in? What's the energy? What do we do? What's different? How do we show up? What do we all look like? What are our live events like? How do we teach? What ways do we provide service delivery? What's the growth? So you will never have me think my business is a problem. There is no problem in my business. Because when you're focusing on a problem, you're making the problem real. And then people say, okay, we'll focus on the solution. No, if you're focusing on solution, you're focusing on a problem. You're trying to find a solution to a problem. There's no problem. There's no flaw. Nothing is broken. Nothing needs fixing, right? So creation is to think from a brand new idea. Creation is to think from the place where the problem does not exist. The solution is already here. I say all the time, thank you, God, for showing me that this problem is already solved. What does that do? Right then and there, when I say that to myself, thank you, God, for showing me that this problem is already solved, I let go of the problem immediately. I'm like, there's nothing to be solved. You got this. Move on. So to think from a new idea, from a new assumption, right, is completely different. And many of you are going to be like, okay, that's great. I love this. Like, yeah, this makes sense. Let's do it. But then nothing changes. Why? Because you aren't embodying the things that are required of you to do when you're thinking from a $100 million idea versus a $1 million idea. I don't make financial decisions based on how much money I have. I make financial decisions based on how much money I want. So to make a decision financially based on how much money I want to have versus how much money I do have is a completely different thing. Wealthy people that are making investments, you put money into an investment for how much it's going to grow, not because, oh, I only have this much. So it's a completely different way of moving money and moving energy, and you're creating demand. So the imagination is truth and the imagination is God, because anything that you see in the imagination is the truth of who you are. It's the real world. It's real life. So if you can visualize your business 4Xing, let's say a 4X in your business, if that's what you desire in your life, you would love that. I would love my business to 4X. I've done this multiple times, 4Xing my business. So you'd love to 4X your business. That's an idea in the mind. So from the 4 times idea, you're not going to go in and try to solve all these little problems. You're going to be thinking from vision. You're going to be thinking from brand new ideas. You're going to want to revamp things. You're going to want to start things over. You're going to want to create a new model. You're going to want to become a different version of you. You're not going to be like, well, how can we change this one little thing and make that a difference? No. This is a whole quantum leap system. This is completely different. This is about revamping the business. So there is the truth as the world would want to know it. And then there is the truth. For me right now, if you were to ask me, Kathleen, tell me how your business is right now, I would say, oh, okay. So in the observed 3D world, my business would look like this. Notice how I'm not saying like, well, my business is currently. I'm saying, well, in the observed 3D world, it's blah. But I'm actually a $100 million business owner with 10,000 clients in House of Manifestation, over 1,000 millionaire students every single month. That's the truth. That's where I'm thinking from. That's the identity that I'm operating in every single day. That's where I'm thinking from, not this other idea. And so the other idea of what my business currently is right now, that is a past experience, because we think from the imagination first and the 3D physical world changes after. So who I am today and what I'm thinking in this moment impacts tomorrow, not yesterday. Yesterday was created from the thoughts before yesterday. So it's actually the past. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, guys, my business is doing 100 million right now in the physical 3D observed world. That's not acting in authenticity or integrity. But what I will tell you is, am I operating a $100 million business? Absolutely. Yeah. And we will observe it. Whenever it decides to show up, we will observe it. But it's already who I am. And every single member of my team, I say to them all the time, I want every single one of you to be showing up in the vibration, the energy, and the feeling of you representing a $100 million company, a $1 billion organization even, right? What would that be like? What would that feel like? That's the truth of who they are. And that's in their growth to do that. So manifestation is of God. And when I say God, I mean the God of your understanding, whatever that means to you. It's important for you to believe in a truth that resonates with you. Because if you're trying to believe my truth, or you're trying to believe Rob's truth, or you're trying to believe Denise's truth, or you're trying to fit into this religion or that one, or maybe no religion and these spiritual practices, and you're just always trying to find a way to believe in what others believe in, you're not formulating your own idea. And so I just want you to believe in the God of your own understanding that resonates with you, that feels like truth for you, whether you identify as religious or spiritual or none of the above, that doesn't matter. But what I do want you to believe in is the idea that there is more to this life than just our human experience alone, right? So my life changed. It quantum leaped. It excelled. It expanded. It became abundant, prosperous, and free when I started to believe in a force outside of myself. So it used to be the universe, because God was a language that did not resonate with me. I did not want to use it. I would sit in a church and I would feel like I was in the twilight zone. Like I could not resonate with it. It did not fit into my life based on the learnings that I'd had. And so the word God, I was averted to it. It was like, no, I can't really hear that. I wouldn't let it in. But universe, I could let in. So then I was like, oh, okay, so what if the universe supports me? What if the universe aligns? Like, what if the universe listens to me and is guiding me and is with me? And so it opened me up to this idea. And then I started to think about, okay, so maybe I do have a soul then. So what if I have a soul? Because I didn't think I had that before. I thought I was just a human. What if I do have a soul? And what if I am a spiritual being? And I'm not just a human. I don't say just a human because it's a bad thing. Our humanity is like why we are here. It is so very, very important. But I believed that I was human alone, that there was nothing else. And so I felt very alone. Everything had to be done in my physical 3D vessel. Everything had to be done by my bare hands. I had to do it all. I didn't believe that there was anything supporting me, helping me, guiding me, whatever that is. And so I moved into this idea that there's the universe and that I'm a soul and there's this energy, infinite intelligence, collective consciousness. It was like, okay, there's this whole energy around me, this field and all of this. And then I went a little bit deeper and I realized that we were all talking about the same thing. And then the God language started to really resonate with me. So I am back now to using the God language. I do believe that God is an energy force. It is the all of everything. It is in everyone, in everything, everywhere. It is the source and creator of everything. So you can use the language God, source, spirit, the all. We're all speaking about this creator or source. Whatever you want to believe, I think is important for you to believe whatever you want to believe and tell that story, because that story is what's going to grow. But for you to have an awareness and a perception of something outside of yourself that is supporting you, guiding you, that you are working with, is one of the most important beliefs that I have ever held and has changed my entire life, my entire experience, from the manifestation side, but also from the peace and love side, knowing I'm not alone, that I can have a conversation at any moment, that I'm always supported. It has given me so much joy in my life, and it has filled my life with a feeling that I never had before. For that alone, I would want to believe this, but then also now we create with this energy. So our thoughts mold the formless substance, thoughts into things. So what that means is the way in which I guide and direct source energy is done so through my mind, the power of intention. So when I set the intention to think from $100 million idea, I'm saying, okay, the all of everything, source energy, God, universe, we're going here. We're going to this idea. And so all of that energy goes towards that idea as well. Because the way in which we guide and direct source energy is by who we are being, and it's by our consciousness and our subconscious patterning and programming, right? So I can sit here and say to you, oh my gosh, guys, I would love to have $100 million impact in this world, to be serving so many people that, it's millions and millions of people. I would absolutely love that. And so I say that on a conscious level. But if inside I believe it'll never happen, I'm not good enough. Nope, I don't know enough. I'm too old. I don't have enough experience. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. Nobody's going to listen to me. I would love to do that, but you have this underlying identity that you can't. You guide and direct source energy by what you actually believe is true. Not what you want to believe, but what you actually believe. So then we're saying, okay, God, come to this energy of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I can't do it. So this is why it isn't just about writing a goal on a paper. We can't just write it down and be like, okay, this is what I want. Yeah, give me this. No, we have to write it down on a paper and then convince ourselves we're already it. Believe it, know it, act in the certainty of it, take action. And then God says, oh, okay, she's serious. So I went out and I bought a Lambo, paid cash, uncomfortable. Why did I do that? I wanted to tell God I'm serious. I'm very serious about this impact. I am very serious about this work. I am very serious about the growth. I am very serious about the impact. And so I used that to create demand and to expand. So now it's bold, it's daring. And now I'm telling Source Energy, we're going here. We're going towards this idea of growth. We're going towards this idea of more is on its way. Impact is on its way. How does a Lambo make you feel? Powerful, strong, energetic, accomplished, passionate. There's a beautiful story too about how like a jacket can literally change your entire business. You know, there's a story, and I think it's one of the Neville books. Maybe it's Awakened Imagination, where he talks about, you know, this gentleman wanted this beautiful jacket, and it was really expensive jacket. It was a luxury designer jacket. It was made really, really well. And he was never buying the jacket, never buying the jacket, never buying the jacket, and waiting for the success of the business to come to be able to go and buy the jacket. And then he had this realization through the work of Neville that the jacket's going to manifest me the business. So he went out and purchased the jacket as the version of himself who has the success that paid for the jacket and bought that jacket. And so every single time he wore that jacket, he was in the feeling of the success of the business that he would have had once he bought the jacket. And it literally created the success in his business. It's like putting on red lipstick or putting on high heels, right? I did this exact same thing with my first Louis Vuitton bag. I went to Rodeo Drive in January. I just found the picture yesterday. In January of 2020, I was just launching my business. I went to a Bob Proctor event in Los Angeles, California, and I was like listening to him and like, I was like, oh, okay. So if I want to create success, I have to act like the success is already here. So I kept saying to myself, well, once I sign like 10 clients, I'm going to buy my first Louis Vuitton designer bag. And then I'm like, okay, so if this is real and true, and if I already believe the 10 clients are on their way, and I already believe that I'm highly successful, what would I do? I would go to Louis Vuitton. I would pick the bag. So I took an Uber there all by myself. I went into that Louis Vuitton, and I was in the assumption I was a highly successful coach. I even introduced myself. I said, yep, I'm a manifestation coach. I help people to do blah, 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 blah. And he was like, oh, I love that. And I was like, yeah, me too. And I literally said to this man, like, I can help you create more sales in your business too. And he was like, can you? And I was like, yeah. He followed me on Instagram. I acted in the assumption. And then I was going to buy the cheapest bag they had there. I looked it up. What is the cheapest Louis Vuitton bag that you can buy? And it was the Neverfull. And it was like $1,200. And I'm like, oh, $1,200 on a bag. Are you kidding me? That is so much money. Like at the time, that's what I was thinking. And I went, no, Kathleen, you're a highly successful coach. You are a millionaire. You, of course, spend $1,200. So then I go in there and he's trying on all these bags. And then there was this one bag and it was so beautiful. I spent 2 hours with this man and it was the most stunning and beautiful bag. And I noticed in myself wanting to buy the cheap one. And this other one was $4,000. And so I made the decision, I'm going to buy the $4,000 bag. I'm going to put it on my credit card and the clients are going to come. This is it. This is the decision that I'm going to make. Purchase this bag, took a photo on the rooftop of the Louis Vuitton right in Rodeo Drive there in Beverly Hills. And the next day I signed 2 clients. And then the rest of the week I signed 4 more, 6 clients that week. It quadrupled the cost of the purse. Because energetically, I acted in the assumption that the success was already here and it all came. So I didn't buy the bag in a feeling of worry. I didn't buy the bag in a feeling of doubt. I didn't buy the bag feeling like I had to. I wasn't stressed. I didn't want to return it. I didn't have buyer's remorse. I bought that bag. It was uncomfortable. Trust me. The $4,000 was not comfortable. Chris bought me a Fendi bag on like a discount for like $300 4 years before, and I made him return it. And so for me to spend $4,000 on a luxury designer bag, it was uncomfortable, but I was like, no, I'm doing this thing. And it changed my whole life. It changed my whole entire business. And then within 8 months, I sold the bag to somebody else because I changed so quickly. And now I'm so in love with gently used and vintage finds that I don't even want to buy like new bags from the stores anymore. I'm just like ordering things online and finding things around the world that you can't get anymore, limited edition. This is why it's the power of doing things from the vibration of success and not from the feeling of fear or from the feeling of there's a problem in your business. I had a beautiful conversation 2 weeks ago with someone that wanted to enroll in my millionaire program, and they're moving from a current job at a corporation getting a salary to being self-employed. And so it's that transition. And so when I was talking about them, they're like, yeah, I really want to take the millionaire program. I really do think that it'll help me. I'll create that CEO mindset, that identity, that consciousness. But let me just launch my business first and see how it goes and then take the course. And I went, ooh, let's unpack that. Like, what's going on there? What do you mean see how it goes? Don't you know how it's going to go? And they're like, well, no, I'm hoping for XYZ. And I said, okay, so what is the assumption that you're working in right now? And their assumption is because I'm going from corporate to self-employment, that I'm going to go from full-time income to zero income. And I said, why would you believe you're going to have zero income? Like, well, I'm just launching the business. It's not going to sell right away. Are you kidding me? I made $65,000 cash my first month of business. Why? Because I believed that's what was going to happen. I didn't believe it was going to be a slow start. I didn't believe that there was going to be no money coming in. I believed I was going to sell 10 people into a course in my first month of business, and I sold 9 because I was in the certainty of it and I acted in that assumption, and I bought the purse to prove it. And this is what I said to this person. What are you going to do then to solidify a new belief? Sign up for the millionaire program. Because if you 100% believe that the clients are going to come and that you're going to be making money in that first month of business, you would enroll in the program now that you said that you would enroll in once the success comes. Do you see what I mean? Very powerful. And so all of this has to do with where you want source energy to go. What is the idea that source energy is working on with you right now? And so whatever you believe to be true will always be your truth. And then the universe simply says, yes, we're going there. So if you're sitting here and you're talking about, my business isn't growing, I have no success, I don't feel like I'm worthy, I'm not a very successful person, God is going, yes, that's true. And so we're keeping the current idea alive by you merely thinking of it. And so we want to think from a new idea. What's the new idea that we're going to think from? And then the more focused attention we give it, the more we think from it, the more we feel like it's true, and the more we take action from the assumption, the more we are telling God, let's go, we're co-creating and we're going over here. You're guiding and directing God energy by who you are being. So I actually like to call it my God essence within. So we are one with source energy. We are not separate from, right? So we are a drop of the ocean that can't be separated from the ocean. We're one of the waves in the ocean, put it that way. We can't take the wave out of the ocean. It wouldn't exist anymore, right? So I like to call it my God essence within, which means there is that oneness, that connection, that divineness. I actually got a divine tattoo on my hand because I wanted to remind myself, and I made it so I read it, to remind myself of my divinity, to remind me of my oneness to source energy. And that because we are one, I'm taking God with me everywhere I go. Every thought I have, every feeling that I'm in, every vibration that I'm emitting, every action that I take, I'm taking God along. And that God energy is more powerful than me. That God energy just comes. And so when I let God in and when I guide and direct God towards where I want that energy to go, that's where my manifestations come. And so then people will ask me the question, but what about God's plan? So what I do believe to be true is that every single one of us was given the free will to choose our lives, the free will to choose who we want to be, the free will to choose how we want to show up in this life, the impact that we want to make. And because we have the free will, God simply says yes to whatever path and direction we decide to take. And so that's why our universe has a duality. Our universe has people that strive for greatness and move with love and peace and joy, people that are inherently very, very good and behave in that goodness, and people that want the best that life has to offer, so they give the world their best. But then there's also people that operate in a different capacity. There are people that operate in fear and in limitation and operate and do things in ways that maybe we wouldn't want to do. And it's not to say that they're bad or wrong. They're just using their free will in a different way. And they're often acting out the beliefs that they were taught as a child. So to have understanding makes total sense. But God is in all of us, even the ones that are doing things in ways that maybe we don't like, the things that maybe we wouldn't do. See how I'm trying to refrain from judging those, because to judge is egoic. But to come from your God essence within is to suspend judgment. So I'll say, maybe it's behaving in ways that I wouldn't behave in. Something like that, suspending judgment. So we have the free will to choose. And so we have the free will to direct the energy towards we want to direct it to. So that's why if we are thinking thoughts of lack and limitation, we will experience that very thing in our lives. If you ask anybody who is inherently wealthy, who has a lot of money, they are not thinking lack and limitation. They're thinking from the idea of money and more money. And it's not a bad thing to desire more money. Abundance is our natural state. Abundance is the truth of who we are, right? We've created lack and limitation in our minds. Even the poverty idea isn't even real. Where did that come from? Who created that? To believe that you have less than keeps you in the energy of less than. So we can actually create an inner sense of plenty today, right now. And when you have an inner sense of plenty, you're thinking from plenty. And when you're thinking from the idea of plenty, God says, yes, plenty, plenty, plenty. So when you're thinking about, I would love more sales in my business, and you're thinking about sales in my business, sales in my business, sales in my business, God is saying, yes, yes, yes. But when you're thinking from, I'm not making enough in my business, I'm not good enough in my business, there's not enough sales, there's not enough sales, there's not enough sales, there's not enough sales, you're just sending God down the direction of not enough sales, not enough sales. You know, for me, sales training, if I were to sign up for a training on how to sell more right now, what's the underlying belief that I have in my consciousness? That I don't know how to sell. So I'm acting in the assumption that I don't know how to sell. Come over to us. We will teach you how to change the assumption to believe that you're the most incredible salesperson in the entire world and you can sell anything to anyone. But I don't want you acting the assumption that you can't or don't know how to sell. So I'm very cautious about what I do, even like signing up for the Wealth from Within program. Many of you sign up for the Wealth from Within program because you believe that you're not wealthy and you want to become wealthy. So you sign up for the Wealth from Within program. What do I teach you on the very first lesson? How to see yourself as wealthy now. Enough of that. We're not living in that energy anymore. I want you to move into abundance. I want you to see everything around you. I want you to count all the pennies that have been coming into your life. And we're going to get rid of that underlying belief that you're not wealthy right now, because you are the wealthiest version of yourself that you have ever been, and you are getting wealthier every single day. I'm happy, healthy, and wealthy. That is a natural state of being for me now. Happy, healthy, and wealthy. Those three things, those three ideas in my identity have changed everything. The top 5 feelings that I'm in every single day: gratitude, love, peace, pride, and accomplishment. Gratitude, love, peace, pride, and accomplishment. Why would I say pride? Sounds like ego, but it's not. Pride is the energy of celebrating myself, right? I'm proud. I'm proud of me. So if I'm proud of me and I'm proud of what I've done, what am I guiding and directing source energy towards? The idea of more things to be proud of. I'm like, oh, we're going here. We're going to the identity of pride. We're going to proud today. We're going to proud. Stay here in proud. And so we're sending that energy towards pride, which creates more pride, right? So this is a big one. Accomplishment. Why is that one of the feelings that I'm in every day? Why is that one of my top 5? Accomplishment. If you don't feel like you're an accomplished person, that you're accomplishing things, then what's the opposite? That you have not accomplished, that you aren't successful, that maybe you failed, or you're in behind, or you're lagging, or you haven't caught up yet. You're taking too long. Somebody said, what about like the feeling of wealth or abundance? I would say that that comes in the gratitude and the love piece of the feelings that I'm in every day for all the things that I have. Like the gratitude piece probably captures the abundance and prosperity piece and the wealth piece. But I would say, number 6, maybe you could feel the feeling of being abundant and wealthy every single day. I do feel that, but it is kind of like this natural state now. It used to be lack and limitation would be this feeling that I was in all the time, but not as much. Okay, I wanted to share those 5 things. But do we understand what I mean by co-creating with God and guiding and directing source energy towards what we desire? So if you look at the example with Anna and the YouTube channel, what was so cool about that was before she brought it to me, I wasn't giving the YouTube channel any energy. I wasn't guiding or directing any thoughts towards it. I didn't even have a goal for it. I didn't even really consider it or think of it, right? So the things that we love, the things that we value, the things that we give our time and attention to, they grow. And the things that we don't, they just kind of go away. They just kind of make their way out of our lives, right? So by Anna receiving the intuitive hit, it led me to guide and direct source energy towards the YouTube channel. And then when we started putting our focused attention upon it, it grew. And I personally did nothing different. Like, I did not do anything different with that channel. I didn't change a thing. I didn't record any new videos. I didn't teach differently. No change in the strategy. Anna tweaked a few things. She tweaked like thumbnails and keywords and stuff like that because she trusted her intuition to do so. But me, in terms of myself, nothing. And so we had 40,000 people find the YouTube channel. Many of you, this is how you found me. So let's understand how this works then. If I am not operating in the grandest version of myself, you will not even find me. I will be outside of your awareness. So then think about that the opposite way. If you're somebody who's in business and you want to help people through your product, through your service, whatever it is that you have chosen to do for your vessel for impact in this world, can people find you? Can people find you based on your energy? Can they find you based on your magnet? Or are you still hidden? Are you still small? Are you still low? The other thing that I want to mention too, we've had a significant increase in male participants on our live events recently. And I find this so fascinating. Why is it fascinating? Because we've started giving it attention. We have a few men on our team that are growing, that are ascending, that are using this work in a way that is so deep and so profound, their lives are completely changing. And so what's ended up happening is, for example, Kieran on my team, to talk about how different he is and how much more at peace he is and how much more in love he is and how much more in tune with his passion and his purpose he is and just how much his life has changed through being in this work with me, with Diamond Academy. Kieran's been in this work for a long time outside of learning from me, but since he's come and been learning here, so what's the difference? You know what I'm understanding is that the way in which I was raised to succeed was the way in which most men were taught to succeed, to work really hard, to provide, to lead, to hustle, to grind, to work extra hours, to, do this and to do that. Don't show emotion. Don't cry. Don't feel things. Make it look like you're really strong. Show your strength. And so where we're actually seeing the most growth now is where men are now tapping into their emotions, becoming vulnerable. Because what did I say? Manifestation is an emotional game. So when we're sitting here and trying to put up a wall to say, I'm really strong, I don't feel anything, I'm good, I'm powerful, I'm a provider. I did this as a woman. So I'm not just talking about men here. I'm talking about the way in which we were raised. I was actually not allowing myself to tap into the full capacity of who I am. I wasn't allowing myself to move the energy. So now through vulnerability, through emotional regulation, through impact, we're now starting to tap into the truth of who we are and who we've always been. And we're letting go of the societal norms that say to be successful means to be hard. To be successful means to be exhausted. To be successful means to have no emotion. What do we do here at Diamond Academy almost every single day? Cry. We're always crying in the best way. We are crying tears of joy, of love, of gratitude. Have you ever just sat there and bawled your eyes out because your life is so good? Man, like that's life. And there's times in your life where you're going to need that strength and it's going to come very in handy. But it is okay to be vulnerable and it is more than okay to be sensitive. And it is so good when you can move that energy. And the more you tap into those emotions, the more you will manifest. So this is where now the world is starting to tap in and tune in to this idea that we can manifest more by being more of the truth of who we are. And we don't have to try to be something that we think that the world wants us to be, that we can really just be who we are. And so you can maintain your masculinity, but you can tap into your divine masculine instead of your toxic masculine. That's a little bit of language that we use. So we've got men's embodiment sessions now in the Millionaire Program where men are actually on calls with other men to support each other through it through Diamond Academy. So, but what we're also finding is a lot of the men like to be on the other calls too, where there's a little bit more women on the calls. So whatever feels good for you, but something we're noticing, right? And so I am not a mentor that is here just for the feminine energy. I am here for all who resonate with it, no matter what you do, no matter where you're from, no matter how you identify. And so you cannot put me or Diamond Academy or House of Manifestation into a box. I'll tell you that right now. So if you have found us, it is because you have called us into your aura, into your energy, based on that feeling within you. I always say I never come uninvited.